Hello, everyone. This is Alicia from Your Way Weight Loss. It is my solo podcast day. Every Friday, Jose and I come at you alternately and just talk at you. So today is something that was a request sent in from a listener. So thank you so much. And actually, as you guys are listening to this, if there's anything specific that you would love for me to talk about on my solo podcast, I would love for you to send me a DM on Instagram, on my personal or the Your Way Weight Loss Instagram, and just let me know your ideas. So something that I talked about many times, especially with our members in the past, is pantry moments. So let me define pantry moments for you. So pantry moments are something that was a behavior that I used to that had become a habit of mine. And it was a habit that I didn't want. So I would define that as a bad habit. So I just want to clarify right now. What I clarify as a bad habit is simply a habit that does not align with who I want to be, a habit that is not conducive to me getting closer to my goals. So if you do this and you don't think this is and it doesn't upset you, that's totally fine. And every single one of us have habits, and only you get to decide if it is a bad habit or not. But you guys know how we feel about labeling here at Your Way Weight Loss. So anyways, it was a habit of mine, a very deep habit, something I had been doing for years. And so I bring to you pantry moments. So what I would do after supper is go into my pantry and create something. So the thing that I'm envisioning right now, which was my go-to, was a rice cake with peanut butter and chocolate chips. Now, is there anything wrong with a rice cake and peanut butter and chocolate chips? Absolutely not. However, the way that I was acting was not who I wanted to be. I did not want to be the person eating food in their pantry. I wanted to be the person that if they were going to have dessert would sit down and enjoy it mindfully. I also did not want to be the person that was in their pantry eating one, which would turn into two, which would turn into other things. So these pantry moments often, very often, spiraled into, I don't want to say a binge, but a binge. For me, I'm defining a binge as eating way past hunger. So I would 100%. Now, I think the word binge, it's definitely a spectrum, but I'm defining it. I guess I would have moments where I would eat way past hungry. How annoying am I with my language? It is so important to me when I am writing things, when I'm speaking, when I'm talking, explaining, that the language that I'm using, it is important. So that's why I'm being so careful as how I define this habit and how I speak about this habit. So long story short, I was sharing with members that I was having a difficult time to break this habit. And the reason why I wanted to break with the habit is the actions I was doing did not align with who I wanted to be. It was not about losing more weight. It was just about not doing something that I didn't want to do. Okay, so how did I change this habit? And it happened so gradually over time that I almost blinked one day and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't remember the last time I was standing in my pantry, with a rice cake, peanut butter, and chocolate chips. I can't remember the last time I was standing in my pantry, eating way past hunger, whatever happened to be in my pantry at that moment. And then I really thought, how did I do that? How did I change that habit? Are you ready? I'm going to tell you everything. I changed it with my thoughts. And I know you're like, oh gosh, how? Like foo-foo, fo-fo, rainbows, butterflies, hold hands. It's the truth. The secret for me in eliminating that habit was my thoughts. It was listening to myself think. So, and time. And ironically, these two strategies, so listening to myself think, challenging my beliefs, changing my language, and time, Those are two strategies. Mindset and time are two things that often people, when they want to change habits or lose weight, are not willing to put in. All people want is they want a list of food to eat, they want their meal plan, they want a number to aim for, and they think that's just going to fix everything. That's going to change those habits. But unless you actually deal with that habit, he's still there. So if you have ever had a moment where you go on a diet, you lose a bunch of weight, everything's good, and then maybe like you get sick and then you just can't get back on your diet, but you do get roll back fast, quick to those habits that you had before your diet, it's because you never dealt with those habits. So as you're listening to this, if you are someone who does have a habit or two that you would define in your own life as bad, I want you to think about, am I willing to put in some time? Am I willing to put in some mental energy to eliminate this habit? So I started to listen to myself think before, after, and during moments in my pantry. And this is what I came up with. There were 3 thoughts that kept coming into my brain. So thought number 1 was, it's fine, Alicia. You were good all day. So that's thought number 1. After I'm done listing my thoughts, I'm going to come back and explain to you how I challenge those thoughts. Thought number 2 was, it's fine, Alicia. You can have just one. And thought number 3 was, this won't ruin your progress. It's okay, Alicia. Do you see how my brain was convincing me very well as well? My brain was doing a good job, was convincing me of why I should go into the pantry and have my moment. Okay. So the whole you were good all day thing, that is bullshit. I do not describe the way I've eaten as good or bad. That assigns worth to how I have eaten. That makes it seem like you are a good person if you eat vegetables. So I don't use that language. Also, it's not about being good and then rewarding myself with overeating and eating past hunger. That's not what it's about. I reminded myself, Alicia, you were good is the point. You were good. First of all, I started to redefine what good meant. Good meant showing up as who I wanted to be that day. Great, Alicia, you showed up as who you wanted to be today. You are not a dog. You are not being rewarded with food. And isn't being who you want to be all day the point? You shouldn't, when you are choosing to eat in a certain way, you should not need a reward for doing so. If you are eating in a way that aligns with who you want to be, your values, your goals, your priorities, you will actually feel reinforced by the act itself of eating good. So if that thought came into my brain, I challenged that thought. The next thought, you can have just one. That was bullshit. That was a bold-faced lie. And that was an easy one to challenge. Alicia, history says that you usually do not just go in there and consume one. Also, side note, let's have a quick conversation. How many calories do you think I was consuming on that rice cake? I would guess 400 to 500 calories. So we need to, and that's a whole nother conversation that we have at Your Way Weight Loss, but creating awareness around how much energy can be consumed in a short period of time standing in your pantry. We need to be having those conversations. We do not need to be having the conversations, you suck, you shouldn't do that, you're bad, but we do need to have the conversation to say, hey, do you know what? You just consumed a significant amount of energy. Is that who you want to be? Is that how you want to take in your energy? So just really having that conversation with myself and just being honest with myself and not being like, oh, it's no big deal. And it's not a big deal, but it was a lot of calories. So being honest with myself about the habit. If you are trying to change a habit and you can't yet even be honest with yourself about your habit, you're not ready. So maybe your habit is the weekends and you go, oh, it's not that bad, no big deal. But your results are showing you otherwise. Maybe you need to start creating a little bit of a better awareness around how much energy actually is coming in those moments. I guarantee you it's more than you think. And lastly, this won't ruin your progress. That's what my brain was telling me as well at times in my pantry. And I reminded myself, that's not the point. Progress, right now, progress is not the goal. The goal is to show up as who you want to be. And if you do that, progress will follow. And this is not who you want to be. So I gave myself space. I would go in my pantry with my thoughts and I would walk away and I would force myself to think through these thoughts. Then I would challenge the thoughts. Then I would rewrite the thoughts. Gradually, eventually, I remember there was one moment where it's like, okay, where I wanted to go in my pantry and have that. And I said, Alicia, just this one time. Just this one time, don't. See how you feel. And I just needed that one time to break the cycle a little bit, combined with the mindset work, combined with giving myself time, combined with time, giving myself permission to F it up. Like there was times where I did still go back in the pantry, but the pantry moments became fewer and further between. The pantry moments probably went from being 1,000 calories a moment to 300. And then eventually I found myself eliminating that habit. So I hope you enjoyed my little pep talk. Here are the takeaways from today. Do you have a bad habit? Remember, we're only defining that bad habit if that habit is something that is not who you want to be. So do you have a bad habit that you would like to eliminate? My recommendation is that you start to create awareness around that habit. Why? Why is it bad? Why do you consider it bad? Because it's not who you want to be. Because I don't want to consume 1,000 calories standing in my pantry. Then I want you to create awareness around your thoughts. What are you thinking before, during, and after that habit? How is your brain convincing you over and over to do this, even though you don't want to? Even though as soon as you do, you feel guilty, you feel shame, you feel broken. So what is your brain saying to you? And then I want you to challenge those beliefs. I want you to go in with rational thoughts and not emotional thoughts. And I want you to rewrite your story one thought at a time. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, if you have any suggestions for more solo pods, send me a message and we will talk soon. Have a great weekend.